Okay, to get started with this project, we're going to need to go over to store.designandmake.com. And in the search bar, we're going to go ahead and type in 12 days. And you'll see that the first entry in our drop-down list is 12 Days of Christmas. We'll click that. Now at designandmake.com, you can purchase the single models for each of the 12 Days of Christmas, or you can buy them as a model project. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. You'll see that the model project comes with all 12 themed models for the 12 Days of Christmas, an extra pear branch, and then 2 different plaque models. Also, we include with it 2 assembled layouts, and these can be easily customized with VCarving. And then some great ideas at the bottom here of how you can use these models. Not only can you use them for the 12 Days of Christmas, but maybe you can use them for a dance award, or maybe even a wedding gift. Looking for even more inspiration, we have the project sheet here. If you like that project, you can go ahead and add it to your cart, and then you can check out. Okay, the first thing we need to do is set up a job. So it's a single-sided job. Our material is around 11¼ by 16½. The thickness is about 1 inch, and we're going to set our datum to the middle. We find that's a little easier to do our layout from that point. Make sure we use a very high resolution, and we chose a material that's suitable for the material that we have. We've already downloaded and installed the 12 Days of Christmas project, so here are all the bits for that. We'll double click on the wall plaque, and we're going to scale it up just to fit inside of our job space. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start to lay out what we want to be in the middle of this plaque. So we're going to double click on the simple plaque. We're going to size that down to a point where we think we can fit about 12 of these inside that recess space on the large plaque. And that seems about right. So we're going to move it down to the bottom, and we're going to use our array copy tool to create a nice array of these. Make sure we group those together, and we'll click copy. Now there we have them. Now we just need to center those on our plaque. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and select that, and we're going to make sure that it's set to an add component. That way it's actually proud of our plaque. And we can center that into our job space, and then we're just going to drag it down to what looks to be about right in the center of our plaque. Go ahead and change the shape height a bit of that, just so it looks like it fits in there better. Now we need to go in and bring in each one of the 12 Days of Christmas objects here and make sure that they're added to the top of our small plaques. And we want to make sure that they are added, not merged in. And we need to make sure that they fit within inside that raised border. And we're going to do this for each of the days. It's the same thing every time, making sure that our component is set to an add component, sizing it down and fitting it on the card, making sure that the actual component fits within inside those borders. And we're going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit, and we'll do all the other 10 of those. As we place these on here, we're thinking about where we can actually VCarve a number so we know what day of the 12 Days of Christmas these different objects belong to. So we're leaving a little gap in spaces. Now, this take a bit of time to do, but it's well worth it in the end. These are all really nice models, and they can be used for all kinds of other things, just not for the 12 Days of Christmas. So keep that in mind while you're placing these where you want them to be. Here we are, almost done. We just have 2 left to do. And after we get these all in place, we're going to make sure that the shape height of all of these looks pretty good across the whole layout that we have. we go. We're just going to use that new gadget that we have in our software to pull up those shape heights a bit to make sure they look really good. Now that we're happy with that, we're going to go ahead and add in some text. So across the top, we're going to put the 12 days of Christmas. We'll type that in, place it where we want it to be. In this case, I wasn't quite happy with that font, so we're going to go back in and choose a new one. One thing that's great about fonts is once you get them positioned where you want them to be, you can break them up and have some fun with the different letters, size things up differently, make them look a little bit more interesting than just straight text. In this case, we're going to convert all of this line to curves, and we're just going to size up the capital letters of each of those words just a little bit, and then we're going to nudge them back into place again. This will give it kind of a nice feel about it. Once we get that all done, we can group it together, and then we can scale it down a bit to fit that space a bit better. Now to jazz it up a little bit, we happen to have a vector outline that we have kicking around, so we're just going to go ahead and import that in, and we can use that to add a little bit of extra detail to the top of our plaque. You can put anything here if you'd like to, even another 3D component if you want to. We'll flip it over horizontally across our center line and add it to the other side, and then go ahead and reposition our text where we want it to be. That looks pretty good right there. Now we need to go ahead and add in all of the numbers to each of the individual cards. So we're going to create one number, and we'll put it in place, size it up to be approximately the size we need it for that particular card, hoping that it fits well into all the other cards. And we can go ahead and adjust each letter as we go along, but there's even a quicker way of doing this if you want to. Once we have the 3 placed here, we'll copy the 3 across to every other card. And then we can go in and simply select one of the 3s with our text editor already up, and we can just make the quick change to the proper number. And you'll see that in just a second. So we'll grab that, go into our create text option, change it to a 4, change that 3 to a 5, 6, 7. It's really easy to do and really fast. Because the text is already selected in the create text window there, we can just start typing right away. Now the 10 didn't quite fit, so we're going to need to adjust the Lord's Leaping guy just a little bit. There we go, we're quite happy with that. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and add another sheet, because we want to cut these cards separately so that we can create pockets in our plaque, and we can place these cards in one at a time. So we're going to select all the bits that we want to copy onto this other sheet. That's all the cards, numbers, and outlines. Now all we have to do is go ahead and delete these from the board. Now we could have hid them if we wanted to, but in this case I had decided to go ahead and delete those out of there. I really don't need them anymore, so let's just get rid of those. Now we can go over this sheet. Now what we're going to need to do is space these out just a little bit. So let's ungroup all those cards and all those vector boundaries. And we're going to use our move component dialog here to move everything over 1/4 inch. And we'll just move them on the x-axis 1/4 inch first. We'll do it to those 2 rows, and select that row. Do it to the next row. Then we'll do it down the x as well. So everything is spaced out the same. And we'll go ahead and grab all of that, and we'll center it in our job. And there we have it. Now we can go ahead and size that sheet a bit better so we have a little bit better pixel density. So when we want to jam all those pixels so those models look really good into a much smaller space, we don't want to waste any in that white space around the border. And that looks pretty good there. So let's go ahead now and start to develop some tooling for these. So we're going to group all of these outlines together. There we go. And we can go ahead and start doing some tooling. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a quick roughing pass. Now to get rid of the majority of the material. And then we can come in with a finishing bit and get rid of everything else. We're going to use a tapered ball nose here, quite a small one for this, because we want all that detail to really shine through. Obviously, we preview the tooling every time we create a tool path to make sure that the result we get is what we want. Now we can go ahead and add in some V-carving for these numbers. Make sure that we project that onto our 3D model. We can preview that. Then we'll do a quick cutout. Add in some tabs. Make sure we have enough tabs. And the tabs are going to need to line up so we don't end up losing them. So we decided to delete some out that were put in for us and move a few around, hoping the result will be a bit better. In some cases, having 4 tabs for each card would be nice. We'll preview that. And that's exactly what we wanted. Notice that the tabs actually line up to hold those in place. Looks pretty good. Let's go back over to the board. We're going to need an outline border for that. We'll create that. And then we're also going to change the shape height of this a little bit, just to give us a little bit more depth in the middle of that. That looks pretty good. Grab that outline, and we're going to go ahead and do some quick tooling here, a roughing and finishing pass. We're going to use a big old 1/8" ball nose end mill to actually go ahead and finish this up. Probably could have got away with a 1/4" end mill and saved me some time, but we're going to use the 1/8 in this case. Because we use a ball nose, those nice curves show up really nice in the end. There we are. We're going to go ahead and create some pockets so we can insert those cards in there. And we're going to want to make sure that we use a pocket allowance to make these pockets a bit bigger so that we can fit our cards in. It's always good once you cut these pockets to do a test fit to make sure they fit in there nicely. So these are oversized just a bit. And we'll do our V-carving on the top of that. Again, making sure that we project that toolpath onto the 3D model. That looks really nice. And then we'll do our final toolpath, which is going to be a profile cut to cut this out. Making sure to add in some tabs. And there we have all that we need to go ahead and cut out this lovely 12 Days of Christmas project.